Hello, and welcome to the first of a 4-part Flipping the Table series recorded at the Old Salt Festival, held June 20th through the 22nd in the Blackfoot Valley of western Montana on the 50,000-acre Mannix Ranch. The tagline for the festival is "Land is Kin" and features sales of artisan products derived from natural fibers and hides, enlightening talks with changemakers, storytellers, and ranchers, as well as 3 days filled with live country music and delicious meals prepared on open fires in the center of the event. Roots of Change team members Coco Sanabria, Doris Meyer, and Michael Dimmick attended to record podcasts, engage producers, and expand its network of allies seeking to promote regenerative livestock production, which delivers healthy food, healthy animals, and healthy land for our nation and the world. Coco joined Michael as co-host for this special series of Flipping the Table. Enjoy episode 1 and watch for our 3 additional episodes to be shared in July and September. Enjoy the show.
Just 1 year back, I learned about the Old Salt Festival when I did a podcast with Cole Mannix, the CEO of Old Salt Co-op and a member of the Mannix family, which has been cattle and sheep ranching in the Blackfoot Valley of Montana since the 1880s. Mannix Ranch is one of 4 partners in that co-op, which you can learn all about in our June 2024 podcast. Today, in this first of our 4-part pod series featuring voices from the Old Salt Festival, you will hear from Taylor Ophus, a member of the Mannix family who stewards a piece of their very large ranch. In conversation with Taylor, you will hear from Sheldon Atwood, who is founder and CEO of Western Ranchlands Corporation, which is a powerhouse in the work to help land stewards identify the multiplicity of ecological, social, and financial capital that can be generated by the land that is intelligently cared for with at least 4 goals in mind. And these goals are good stewardship, community consciousness, personal and professional development, and long-term profitability. They will help us understand how a modern ranch meeting the ecological, social, and financial challenges of our day can operate. And this brings me to the first conversation in this 2-section podcast, which is with Cate Havstad-Casad, a rancher, a farmer, writer, and the founder and CEO of Range Revolution, which crafts its stunningly beautiful leather products from the hides of cattle raised using regenerative practices. This means animals living on a nutritious and diverse array of grasses and forbs. It means cattle moved to allow pastures to rest, and cattle that are not fed synthetic growth enhancers. Some regenerative ranchers are even tolerant of wolves and grizzlies, which is a story for another time. Both these 2 linked conversations today, captured at different moments over the 3-day event, reveal the amazing diversity of products and services that are provided by land that is well cared for. All 3 of our guests are fostering beautiful, life-affirming diversity on large landscapes. They help us understand why the Old Salt Festival uses the tagline, "Land is Kin." Coco Sanabria, who joined our team in 2023 while finishing her master's degree at Stanford and now manages projects, was my welcome co-host for these Old Salt Festival conversations. And our organization's most able diplomat, Doris Meyer, was instrumental in inviting and shepherding our guests to our podcast outpost within a large teepee-like tent adjoining the stage and hay bale theater where enlightening talks were held, and which was only a couple of 100 yards from the music stage, where over a dozen different bands performed across the 3 days and kept the people dancing each night. Before we begin, let me say that the Old Salt Festival is an event not to be missed if you love nature, beautiful vistas, open fire cooking, and meeting a rich diversity of good human beings. I trust you will enjoy listening to this series as much as we did recording it. Okay, Cate Havstad-Casad, so good to see you here at the Old Salt Festival in Helmville, Montana. So, tell us why you came.
I came to the Old Salt Festival. This is my third year here. I came with my company, Range Revolution. We are a leather goods company. We produce leather products using hides that come from regenerative American ranches. We have been a sponsor of Old Salt all 3 years from the very beginning inception. And so we have a booth here in the beautifully curated makerspace where we sell our goods.
And they're absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful stuff. I can't believe it.
Thank you. And I come also just as a human being who manages a farm and a ranch also in Central Oregon. And I come to, it's like a reunion. I run into a lot of my peers and friends, new and old, and I come to get a fresh perspective and go back with inspiration and get my cup filled and reconnect to community who's doing a lot of the really, really challenging work that I'm also doing.
Which is, how do you make a ranch work and not be in the commodity market or be in the commodity market? Either way, it's hard.
How do we build markets outside of the commodity system that actually allow for more life?
Yes. I should just tell the audience that you were the moderator for the last panel, which was Land is Kin, and you said that. How do we manage land for more life? It was probably the thing that stuck out most for me in that panel because of just that phrase. Mm-hmm. So, why don't you connect that to, they asked you to moderate that panel, which was the final panel, Land is Kin, which is the theme of this event. So why don't you talk about how you came to be the moderator, why you wanted to do that or were willing to do that, and how it connects to that phrase.
We'd have to ask Western Landowners Alliance why they think that maybe they ran out of other people.
No, I don't think so.
I formed a relationship with all these people. Our conversations have been intertwining for 3 years now. I've gotten very familiar with the work that they do. I support any initiative that I can that Western Landowners Alliance or Old Salt or Women in Ranching, any of these organizations, if I can lend my support, whether it's through my voice, preparing to moderate, preparing to speak, I'm here. I'm so invested in the success of the Old Salt story. I'm so invested in this imagined future that we're all building towards that, however I can contribute, I'm here to contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the Old Salt story, Range Revolution story, the different ranchers that were here, they're all going for what? How would you describe, how would you encapsulate it?
I mean, we touched on it. We're going for differentiated markets that are regionalized, that are decentralized, that are more resilient than the consolidated commodity system, which has had, the foot on the neck of the farmer and the rancher for decades. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going for is building these alternative markets so that we can operate in a way where we take great care in the work that we do. We like Hillary and Andrew Anderson, who I just moderated that panel of. Yeah. We're managing for more life. We're actually valuing the ecosystem services that these ranches are providing. We're reconnecting I want to stop using the word consumer after chatting with John Alexander this weekend and instead say citizens, reconnecting citizens to the food on their plate, because there is no relationship more intimate than the thing that we're putting in our body that literally makes us.
Right.
So that's what we're going for.
Yeah, that's well said. I like that. And going back to the panel that you moderated with the Andersons, they have a J-Bar, which is one of the partners in Old Salt. Mm-hmm. They talked about this complexity of managing for the species other than just the cattle or the sheep and trying to make that work. I think it's a story that's still unfolding.
Yes,
we don't totally know how to do it.
Yeah.
We're learning.
With the wolf reintroductions, the issues just kind of continue to unfold. And it is our job to learn to coexist in their ecosystems. These are not ours.
Right.
These places do not belong to us. We belong to them. And I think the vision of the future of the ranching industry, in my eyes, is one in which people like Andrew and Hillary Anderson are modeling what is possible, and they will be very, very humble and honest in that it's not without its failures, it's not without losses, and not without a huge amount of work.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little more about your business. I want to talk about your products and your supply chain, because that's how I found out about you, really, was through the Grass Project, which we've done podcasts on. So why don't you talk about your business and your sourcing?
Range Revolution began in 2021, and I set out to build a product that I thought was for one of my other businesses, which is called Havstad Hat Company. And I've operated that business since 2014. So I have, at that time, I was learning to become a custom Western hat maker. And I was also working on my now husband's first farm. So agriculture and design have evolved together in my career. As we got deeper into a direct-to-consumer meat business model, which honestly was a response to massive irrigation loss. We used to be vegetable farmers, organic vegetable growers, but our farm is like many farms. It is a story of water loss in the West. At the peak, we lost 80% of our irrigation waters.
Wow.
And being potato, onion, produce farmers became unviable. And so we started to transition our model. We had always done a little bit of grazing and pigs, but we just doubled down and we increased our herd sizes and built a direct-to-consumer meat model. But as we got deeper into that business, I started to understand the economics better and realized that, wow, when we send a steer to slaughter, only 65% of that carcass on average is being utilized. And I'm always, in all my business endeavors, I'm like, how do we make ranching more viable? How do we increase the economic realities of ranchers in today's economy? And that 35%, which is currently deemed waste in most systems, is huge. And if we could start to recapture that, it would make a world of difference. And there's also just like there's a values in, spiritual argument to be made for like waste. There is no such thing as waste. And actually, like Wendell Berry talks about, an economy of peace. There is no economy of peace when you have these massive waste streams.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what started me down the rabbit hole of, wow, okay, every year in America, 5 million cattle hides are going into the trash.
Yes. Isn't that unbelievable?
It is unbelievable. And then when you start looking, okay, well, say you walk into any old store and you see a leather goods, where does this hide come from? You realize the supply chain is extremely opaque. And if you can find any level of traceability, a lot of them are coming, it's a globalized supply chain. So a lot of them come from Brazil. A lot of them are from systems of deforestation. So it felt like two massive problems that could be changed with the right design mindset. And so that's what led me to start Range Revolution. And
Which is a great name for a
you.
business.
Thank you.
Range Revolution.
It's a little punchy, which is,
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah, it's good. But anyway, I interrupted you. You were talking about the supply chain in Brazil and...
Yeah. So we're working, all of our hides come from American ranches who are managing their ranch regeneratively. And in the beginning, we're using EOV, ecological outcome verification.
Which came out of the Savory team, Cruise. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We were one of the first brands that signed up for Land to Market when that began.
Great. That's a big investment.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. And we've just been growing it since then. It's been messy. I've made lots of mistakes. There were lots of inefficiencies. I didn't know anything about leather before we began this. And then, fast forward to today, in the past, we were, moving whatever we could. So pallet here, pallet there. There was just lots of mistakes leading to inefficiencies. But today, last month, we moved a full truckload of hides exclusively from California ranches.
Yeah, name those ranches, because they're ranches we work with. That was really cool.
Yes, so Stemple Creek, Lauren, Richard's Grass-Fed, I know Carrie well, and then Eel River.
Yeah,
those are the three ranches that we just pulled 650 hides, took them down to tannery in Leon, Mexico, where they're going to be vegetable tanned and crafted into bags. But not only are we crafting our own products, which is the Range Revolution line, we are also now starting to broker these leathers to other brands like Range Revolution who want to access the supply chain. So anyways, that's where we are.
So from hearing you talk, I want to bring up one thing that happened this weekend too. Is there was a live butchery demonstration, and I think something that was brought up too is the mass amount of waste that comes from slaughter and just what a missed opportunity there is. And something that struck me is they, as butchers, were talking about. Of course, that's much more intimate than if you're sending it to someone else to really push it through. But they were like, well, we can get up to, I think they said 85% use out of that animal and that meat. And
at home, they said in the 90s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at home, they said in the high 90s, 97%, which is, it's really contingent on like what you're willing to use. But it's also so interesting because just within like what's culturally relevant, I guess, to the food and what we're consuming in the U.S. It's very different. People eat different things, of course. And I'm so glad that you are also looking at that on that leather, on that aspect, because, I mean, people who know me know that one of my soapboxes is this element that people are like, can't believe you use leather. And I'm like, well, gotta say, the demand for meat is much higher than the demand for leather.
Yes.
And if you're like, okay, you can be not eating meat and it can be because of animal welfare and all these things. But if you want to look at that, there's so many opportunities to still tap into this system that is supportive of the right way. And that is an opportunity. I'm like, why are we investing money into petrol, leather, in quotes, alternatives?
Yes.
When there's so much of natural leather thrown away and it's lasts so much longer and all these things. And I see your eyes lighting up. I'm sure you also share that soapbox, but
it's fascinating to go to the textile and fashion conferences where the narrative for so long has been vegan alternatives or biosynthetic created materials. And they have no idea about the waste stream. They have no connection to ecological ranching systems. So they don't understand this can be a byproduct of regeneration. This can be a byproduct of revitalizing rural landscapes. They just don't understand. And I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but my sister, I mean, she works in social justice, kind of focused on oil and gas and climate change issues. And the oil industry has for decades been preparing for the conversion to more electric vehicles, and the pivot into textiles and the amount of marketing money which has gone into telling the average consumer that a vegan alternative is more eco-conscious is very, very well constructed and very well funded by the oil industry.
Sell more oil.
100%. They're building new refineries now specifically for textiles. Let me give you a textile stat. You know, back in 1950, 1960, a majority of the fibers that made up our fashion supply chain were natural fibers like cotton, linen, leather, wool. Today, it's less than 2% is animal and natural fibers.
That is so
and they're blended now too. Often.
They're all blended.
And those and the synthetics don't break down, so you're creating pollution.
Oh. And
versus all the other stuff is organic and it breaks down.
It sheds in our washing machines. It goes into the water. Yeah. It's on our body's number one most absorbent organ, our skin.
Right.
Yeah. Anything that's blended to a synthetics can't be recycled. So there's
there's no end of life reconstruction options.
I mean, insane.
And here's the thing, like, I find the work in fashion to be thrilling and extremely frustrating. I've spent 12 years working in food systems and trying to reach people through the food on their plate, and I just understand and I can't unsee now that there's an opportunity to reach a level of pop culture through fashion and style that like must be reached.
Yes.
Because the conversation in food is so much further along. And fashion is miserably behind.
Yes. Well, I was just, when you said that, I thought of Beyonce, like, she needs to have your bags. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah. And
if you guys know who to talk to, I'm in.
No, but there must be people who are on the fashion edge who know about your product. Because I hear about Range Revolution. So where are you? I mean, who do you have? Do you have allies in that world, the fashion world?
Increasingly so. You know, I don't come from the world, so I'm meeting a lot of them by going to conferences and sharing what my work is. But I mean, I have some incredible people who have joined my team this year that come from larger organizations with experience in this world. So that's wonderful. We're doing our first celebrity collaboration. We're putting out 2 pairs of cowboy boots this fall.
Great.
We don't intend on becoming a boot company. This is a very special limited edition collaboration with an actress. Her name is Beth Bears. She and I have been friends through my hat work, and she's an actress, so she's bringing a whole new kind of level of pop culture attention to this work, which we're very grateful for. So that collaboration is coming out this fall.
Good. Well,
it's an interesting time because cowboy attire, I would say, and ranch attire is even in urban settings.
It's true.
Yes, she goes to the line dancing all the time. Right?
I was talking to people. So I'm from LA originally, and I live there now.
Yeah.
And you'll see people in cowboy hats and jeans and cowboy boots, especially walking down the street now.
Oh yeah.
And it's definitely trending.
Western is in.
Western is in.
I know. So, anyways, we have to make sure that Western industry actually connects to what the Western industry is
and supports it. That it's not just a visual thing.
This is not just cosplay. This
absolutely.
is
and it also hopefully it'll connect to the regenerative burst of energy around regeneration rather than just commodity Western, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, an urban market is a perfect target for that. Mm-hmm. You know, an LA audience is primed and ready to have a conversation, and even just again in the last 5 years. A more nuanced understanding of it's not the cow, it's the how.
Yes.
Through, I have to thank the Kiss the Ground film producers for their work, because it brought this conversation to a much larger level. So yeah, we're in a wonderful position and time to have this conversation, and I think that it's an education thing. The consumer doesn't understand that 70% of the fibers in our supply chain are petroleum based, and that is something that we can actively change through our decisions.
Purchasing decisions.
And there's
decisions.
The availability in many cases.
Yes, yeah.
Well, so that's interesting. So the next few years is just about expanding the market, building more allies. And so tell people how they can find you.
Yes. So we sell online, rangerevolution.com. We have a couple handfuls now of retailers around the country, and we're always seeking to bring in more independent retailers and boutiques who want to have a beautifully curated, regeneratively sourced leather line. So find us online at Range Revolution. You can find us on Instagram at Range Revolution. I do some writing on a Substack.
Oh, great.
I believe it's titled Range Revolutions.
Great, okay.
And I write about more than just the business. I write about ecological stewardship and food systems issues. Those are probably.
Do you
the
have a
best
book in you about your journey?
When I feel like I've got wisdom to share.
Yeah. So a few more years, maybe. It's coming. It's coming.
Have two. I have a 1-year-old, and I have an almost 4-year-old.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm being very a la Helen Ree Banks and her kind remarks.
Yes.
Say no sometimes.
Right.
Not now.
Right. No, that's huge.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Trying not to burn out.
Yeah. Well, good for you. You guys have been here the whole time. The festival is now over. We're watching them break down behind you here, and there are fires burning out there because we're all freezing to death.
Yes.
It's cold today here in Montana. But anyway, Cate, it's been a wonderful experience to meet you finally after hearing about you for a long time, and spending this time with you. And we will be in touch and hopefully see you in Sacramento in the fall.
Yes, I would love to see you then there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We hope you're enjoying this conversation of Flipping the Table. Please subscribe to this podcast and write us a brief review and give us a rating. These help us to improve the show and to build our audience. More listeners will help grow the movement to make food and farming solutions to many environmental, health, and social problems we face. It's easy. Please subscribe, review, and rate. And now let's dive back into the conversation with Sheldon Atwood and Taylor Ophus.
Sheldon, Taylor, nice to be with you here at the Old Salt Festival. What a day. We've had every kind of weather going on. It's colder today, isn't it?
It is a little bit
colder. So, Sheldon, you were invited. Why?
Yeah, Cole Mannix and I met up at a conference in Tucson here called Ranch of the Future that was sponsored by the Western Landowner Alliance group. And we had a little bit to say about different models and different ways of doing ranching that capture value for producers, but also for the people what want the other things that come from the land beyond just meat and fiber. Open space, wildlife habitat, healthy watersheds, other types of things, hunting, fishing opportunities, or functioning ecosystems, or healthy communities and stuff. And so he asked me to come here to the Old Salts Festival and talk more about how that translates into opportunities for producers across the value chain.
And you did that yesterday morning, and there was a big crowd for you.
There
That's
was,
good.
yep.
Okay, so Taylor, you're part of the Mannix family, the ranch, your operation here.
Absolutely.
So tell us what you do.
A little bit of everything. Working with the family, my wife and I, she's a Mannix, Ashley Mannix, is the 5th generation on the ranch here. And we married in and we moved out 3 years ago. We helped before that, but moved full-time out here, quit our city jobs, and came out and just tried to help forward the ranch and the ranch causes.
Great. And are you from Montana?
I am. I'm from Big Sandy, Montana originally, so up on the High Line. Little different country down here.
Okay. Cool. And you're actually from Canada, right?
Yeah, that's right. Alberta, Canada.
Alberta, Canada.
Yep.
Wow. And so how did you get into this world, Sheldon?
Yeah, I actually had grandparents on both sides that had large ranch interests and stuff. And yet both of those family ranches had gone out of the family by the time I graduated high school. It's really personally painful and frustrating for me because I loved the ranch life and the community and the sense of everything that went with that. But was also taught by my mother a very high level of understanding about where food comes from, and we had large garden and greenhouse and stuff like that, provide a lot of our own essentials, milk cows, and started buying bum lambs when I was a little kid and making up my own little herd and doing different things like that. I just want to find a solution for stopping these ranches from being either fragmented up or sold off until they weren't viable. And it doesn't matter if they go into multi-million-dollar houses or they get parceled up and then cropped conventionally. They've gone away from the community values and the ecological values that were in place years ago, and I think there's a healthier model than that. Yep.
So the loss moved you.
Yeah.
Got it. So you and your wife, she's a Mannix, but you decided to come back. You decided to leave your city jobs. What was it?
The job or the reason why?
No, yeah, why? I mean, what kind of enticed you to come back to the ranch?
That small town community, being able to affect that and seeing a community such as Helmville where everyone's, working together towards common goals really reached out to us. We had our first son, and we were living in Butte, Montana, which isn't a giant city by anybody's stretch, but both of us, that was a pretty big place to be raising a son. The opportunity came around. We picked up a new lease, which in that stage, even the Mannix Ranch was low on people to manage that. And so we were able to come in and live in the leased house and rebuild all that. But basically just to keep moving things, towards the future, making things more successful, picking out different enterprises, working together. As our generation comes in, we're the fifth generation. I believe there's 6 of us back right now on the ranch. 4 of those are full-time employees working. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to blend this dynamic and be able to push this ranch into the future in successful ways, and not only for monetarily gain, but also for, the agriculture as a whole or the landscape as a whole to bring it better.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like there's, like you said, there's multiple different enterprises. And is that really, Sheldon, when you opened up with what you do, talk about that. Talk about the kinds of things that you see, you pitch, you help people do.
So one of the ways that we wanted to combat this tragedy, I guess, of properties going out of families and into other uses and things, this fragmentation model that's out there, is to look at other ways to make family ranching and ranching more profitable. And among that, it's like Taylor's saying, there's additional enterprises that we can have people bring in. And so, I did everything I could to study every aspect of animal agriculture, nutrition, reproduction, physiology, everything there is under the sun there, but also then realize you also have to understand ecology and range science and animal behavior. And then really, even if you understand all of the biology, if you don't understand business and economics and finance, you don't have enough of the pieces of the puzzle to come together. But luckily, I had some family background in construction and business-oriented type of things, and was blessed with some early experiences and opportunities to do some entrepreneurial things that taught me the practical realities of that. And it enabled us to recognize that as much as fragmentation is sometimes termed development, there's other models of development, and that can include aggregation, the reverse, where just as Taylor's talking about, you take on a new lease or you buy a new property, and the increasing economies and ecologies of scale actually make for a more resilient and more robust overall business, sometimes even with an additional line or enterprise that can come into scale at that level, right? So adding hunting and fishing enterprises where those are allowed or supported by the biological resource becomes great. But also by bringing people into the capital stack, or as I like to think of it, adopting people into the family of your family ranch and saying, yeah, if you like to hunt and fish, you don't just have to pay me for the access to temporarily come on my property and hunt or fish. You can buy into the ranch and be an owner of the ranch, and it's emotionally a very different experience. Financially, their contribution grows in value over time. It's not just money transacted once, it's an investment made over time, but they're bought in at a different level. And when that happens, it transforms the relationship that we have. So we've built this and done it and tested it numerous times over many different circumstances, and made it possible for people to participate, and had people from conservation organizations and even just aligned investors that will never come out and touch or see the property, but want to know that we're doing good with it for God's little creatures and watershed and open space and these other values.
The big creatures too. The big creatures too, the sexy things as well, but the frogs and the lizards and the worms in the soil, like all of it. And we're working with people on measuring and monitoring all of the bugs and the birds, but also the carbon in the soils and other kind of things that people care about. And then being able to tell that story adds value, just as it does here at the Mannix Ranch.
So that's good. So talk about the different things that are happening on the Mannix Ranch.
Yeah, seasonally a little bit it differs, but I would say we still have cow-calf operation standard. We no longer sell any of those calves, though. We hold those all over as stockers for ourselves and our replacement heifers. So that's a revenue stream there. We have our beef program. We did direct to consumer until 2024, and then actually we moved that to Old Salt. So Old Salt
is co-op. That's a co-op. That's separate.
That's our co-op.
You're a member of the Old Salt
with
co-op.
J. Barrell and Sebin Ranches and a couple ranches in Missoula came together to kind of form our operation. You know, it was kind of us taking our shot at the big packer industry. And he was talking about building a blueprint, and we're hoping that's what we can do with that. But as far as vertical integration on the ranch, we also do our own timber harvesting. We do work with NRCS, and we're doing conifer encroachment work. We're doing all that stuff to better the landscape. We work, you know, he was talking about bringing people into the fold. Half of our things we do are because we have partners in them, and maybe not financial partners so much as just someone to give you the thumbs up. You know, a perfect example is straight across here. The listeners aren't going to be able to see it, but we did a burn in 3 different sections. We did a 3 years burn, and that encompassed state land, Forest Service land, BLM land, private land. And to work with all of those people together and be able to come together and do something like that was just phenomenal. There was people out writing articles on the idea of working on a landscape management instead of the fire ends at the fence line or the weed spraying ends at the fence line, and being able to incorporate all that, you know, into a much larger picture.
So a large collaboration, and you were doing the burns to mitigate fire damage.
Yeah, we had some conifer encroachment up there, so that cleaned up some of that. There was actually some sagebrush encroachment onto native rangelands, which is ironic because in some of the places they're planting sagebrush, and in some of our areas here they're burning sagebrush. Right. But that's all, again, with those partnerships, you bring in the professionals that know what that land needs, and then to be able to have boots on the ground and get that stuff done really adds to the overall picture of the
Do you
ranch.
guys have a hunting operation?
We don't. That's one of the low-hanging fruit we hope we never have to pick.
Because?
We love sharing it. We love sharing it. We turn one half of the ranch turns over into block management every year. So that's a public access program in Montana that doesn't cost the hunter anything. They have to sign up and go through a thing. We also have shoulder hunting for elk management, so for our cow elk. And then we have family and friends that like to hunt and like to bring that resource home. And so to be able to still share that without it being worth a dollar.
Monetized without being monetized.
Yep. And it's definitely there.
That's a relationship builder.
Yeah, for sure. But It's tempting. It's a tempting
Yeah.
fruit to pick, but you hope you don't have to right now. In our case, anyway.
Yeah. I know a lot of ranches in California where we're from, they do hunting programs because it's good revenue,
Yeah, absolutely.
particularly in a drought.
Well, we just came from a talk where Cole Mannix was answering some of the same kinds of questions, right? And earlier this morning, we were on a pasture walk where they talked about the fire program that you guys have been a part of. And what's cool about those partnerships is that, as you say, sometimes they're invested with money, sometimes they're just invested with their relationships or their knowledge. And all of these things are different currencies, right? People can participate and you can trade cash, or you can participate and trade your knowledge, or you can produce these outcomes, and the dividend people get in the family continuity, the family passion for the property might center around that opportunity to hunt together, right? Or these other things, or you invite other members of the community and then you strengthen those bonds. And so you're monetizing through the resiliency and the strength of your community into a more robust business that's more vested in all those upstream, downstream products. And as Cole just talked about, he's relating to how they got a below market rate loan to grow the meat business because of the ethic behind the land stewardship here that flows through every part of Old Salt.
Yeah, you said a 3% loan. That's amazing right now.
Right now, absolutely.
Incredible loan.
Right? So they are monetizing, and they are monetizing it. And those people aren't just being stupid and giving their money away free. They're saying, no, we value multiple things. We value community. We value the outputs, the ecological stewardship. And they're trusting that the Mannix family is essentially what we call a proven steward, and they're supporting them, and their constituents are happy and honored to participate in that transaction.
I mean, you're investing in human capital.
So
there.
it's all roots of change.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you bring in both the fire management and the fact that you're obviously grazing on natural grazing lands, and really, I mean, I'd like to emphasize the point that you cannot do simply one or the other. I think there's conversations a lot in California of how can we manage a lot of our brush land that does burn, that's a really big fire risk, and there's conversations both on the fire management side by doing controlled burns and on the grazing side. But I've seen rather those conversations pretty siloed, just depending on who's leading it. But it's a system after all, and everything is very connected with it.
I think when you talk about being connected, you have to extend that bridge, right, or that olive branch across there, because understanding that those communities are working together. The fire mitigation people and the grazers are working together full time, right? Like those go hand in hand. We have a lease up behind us here. It kind of goes unnoticed, but it's a large grass lease that was subdivided in the 70s, and there's 200 and some landowners up there, and we're running our cows up there amongst their 40-acre chunks, right? And some people, it causes problems, or there's fences here and there. But the overall net gain on that landscape from having our cattle up there, cleaning up the brush, knocking down some of those invasives, and being moved in a responsible manner, it just is an overall win for everybody.
Yep, that's interesting. So do you guys, I'm just thinking about the model, do you as a family have a weekly meeting, the people that work on and then divide and conquer all the things that have to be done? How's that work?
Yeah, we're going through that quite a bit right now. Generation 4, which would be the 3 brothers, so David, Randy, and Brent, my father-in-law, are, they use the word retire, but I don't think that's actuality. I don't think those fellers have quit in them at all, but they're looking at stepping back at some of that, and so we're looking about how to go forward and how to attack this with a model. We do every Monday morning. It used to be Tuesdays we dreaded, but we moved it to Monday morning at 6 a.m. We have a family meeting at the ranch office, and we talk about everything that went on that week. But at this expanding level, that's also our only time that we all get together in one room. So sometimes it goes a little off the rails with funny conversations, or who saw the wood elk, or what saw who the bear, that kind of stuff. But we're working with that, and we work with, we consider it like the homesteader model. So each individual is kind of assigned a portion of the ranch, or what was previously a smaller ranch, and we've incorporated that now. And they're kind of the command post for that. They're responsible to make sure they get the help. And we have a lot of people that are floating, and we have several part-time people as well that are floating and like, hey, I need these resources today. You know, we need the skid steer today. We need the fencers today. I'm going to have water on here today. I need those cows moved tomorrow. But then you make those decisions, but then you're also the one out there moving the cows. Just I was running a little late to this today. I was moving heifers through the marsh, so that was fun.
Cool. Well, so Sheldon, back to you with what's the geographic reach of the consulting, the talking, the speaking, the sharing that you're doing?
Yeah, no, we've done work with folks in Australia, Brazil, around the world. Really, the center of our current efforts is in Alberta, but we've been drawn into other areas and currently working with some producers here in the States that have asked us to help them apply the model and the templates we've used to be more successful, to save time and money, getting those relationships in place in a legal sense, and to structure them in a way that's mutually beneficial for all the stakeholders across the realm, from the conservation communities to the aligned capital partners to the producers themselves, you know, and those who want to have a recreational interest in the property in some manner or whatever, but also the outer lying part of the ecosystem that is the third-party ecological outcome verifiers, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing the technology to measure, to monitor the carbon in the soils or whatever else it is that's out there, and those relationship builders and the other people. But bottom line, it's also right down to what Taylor's saying, the stewardship on the ground and making sure the heifers get moved when they're supposed to.
Right.
In the way they're supposed to, so you
right.
reduce stress on them, you reduce stress on the land, you encourage the most life in the soil possible, the most resilient community mix of the species of plants and animals that enhances the richness of all of that for everybody. This morning we heard about the Audubon guys talking about how rich the bird population here is as a result of the daily decisions about when and where and how to move the livestock to enhance the habitat for the creatures who have wings and could go elsewhere, but choose to be here because of the nutrition and the safety that is collected here in the habitat and the structure and the biochemistry that's here directly because of the land stewards' activities in this place.
It's a beautiful thing.
We're working on that. It's funny you bring up the Audubon. We're right in the middle of a project now with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, actually. They're reintroducing sharp-tailed grouse into western Montana. And so it's the only viable population west of the Continental Divide in Montana exists here on the ranch. And that's by the birds choosing. They let most of them go down in the Bitterroot, and they couldn't pick them up on trackers. And then they were coming back towards Helena, and they picked them up. And there they were on our ridgeline.
Wow.
And since then, they've been able to introduce, another 200 or so captive birds onto the landscape. And now we have a self-sustaining population of sharp-tailed grouse right here in the valley, which is pretty awesome. They haven't been here. Last one was recorded in 92, I believe, is the last one they had sighted here.
Wow. That is incredible. It's a beautiful example of what good stewardship does, right? You're actually increasing biodiversity. They're about to start behind us over there, so we're going to have to call this to an end. But I want to thank both of you very much for both of what you're doing, like on the ground, boots on the ground, doing it every day. And you, Sheldon, who are spreading the good word, actually, to bring more people into what you guys are doing here, Taylor.
Thank you so much. And I think that would be my call if people wonder how to get more involved. Time. People's time is what is needed here. Sheldon's out here reaching out to communities and the next generation of agriculture across the United States. And there's money, there's philanthropy, there's all that reaching out there, but people caring and willing to put that time in to make the sacrifices and make it happen, make it a reality, right? The theory's a reality is the important part of that.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Please share it with your friends and listen to our next monthly episode of Flipping the Table, hosted by Roots of Change, a program of the Public Health Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to building a healthier world.